here, I guess, I don't know. That good?
Sure.
Okay.
You can have it. No, you can have that one. And that's how did I write stuff on that one?
Yeah.
What time is that? I guess it's time to start the meeting. Do you have the minutes from last month's meeting?
Do I? No, I wasn't here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you weren't. So we'll just deal with that next
Yeah,
month.
you got table there.
Call the Watts Township Plan Commission meeting to order. We do not have our minutes from last month's meeting because our secretary's not here, so.
Stop for 1 minute and let this, well, what's called up if you don't mind.
What's that?
It's my recorder, but I have to turn, I'm sorry. I thought it was on. Yeah, Tim won't be here tonight, just so you guys know.
I appointed Lee as our temporary secretary tonight.
We got roped into it, huh?
I guess our first business is with Berget and Associates.
I talked to Joe today,
Okay,
and I don't think he's here, so I think he said that he didn't get county comments yet,
okay,
and he was going to just have a table for tonight, and they'd be getting county comments.
okay.
I sent him the copy of my comments to him, and the name on the plan was one of them. He said that's
Yeah.
already changed.
Yeah. I thought that was one of the
So he
questions.
just said that until they get that, and they're also working on the sewage exemption. There's a
10
form that needs filled out for
Right.
that 10-acre lot.
Was one of your questions the driveway and site distance, or isn't that really a issue on that
They
one?
need a driveway permit.
Right. Okay,
I think that's what's on the plan, but I don't know whether I made it a comment or not. I'll
Okay.
check.
okay. That was my main concern. I think it looks okay, but I'm not sure up there on that crust of that hill.
Maybe this thing recorded. You might need-
What's that?
And we have two plans.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's another one here. No,
this thing recorded. You might want to-
Okay. There's two subdivision plans that we've received. One of them's for a 17-acre lot, and the other one's a lot addition to existing property. Let me see this other one for a second.
This one will say,
a 17-acre lot.
who's that?
There's Barry and Terry Deegan.
Okay, we also have a lot addition plan here. And I guess is that yours?
That's me, I'm Alan Hornberger, and I'm representing Bobby Hipman. And
Okay.
He lives up on Amity Road, and he is putting two separate sidewalk additions because of Clean Creek. And I guess you have the plan, and we have some notes here, I don't know, what else. You to say, but,
We don't have county comments yet, I don't think. You didn't read it.
I didn't see any yet.
You just want to go down through these, Sherry? they can,
But we need to get the sewage residual track waiver
okay,
thing signed, but I said that's just, it's no DEP approval, it's just getting that signed by everybody. It's the form you have there, I think.
Okay. We had handed, we
Yeah,
had handed those in when,
I think we handed in 4 copies of these. Sure that's-
Yeah, I didn't receive the copy, so I guess the secretary has it.
okay.
So she probably has it to get it signed.
That copy that you have there, can we?
That's what we had handed those in
With the plans?
application and the plans.
And it's just getting it signed because
Yeah.
it doesn't go to DEP for approval.
Okay, well, I mean, we can sign this copy.
I signed all 4 of them
Did you?
when I handed them in. I mean, I can sign that one as well.
Okay, if you would, and then,
She probably has them in the office.
yeah.
is that something the planning commission signs too, or is that?
There's a planning commission signs it, I think. Isn't there a planning commission signature? Plan, on the second page. at
I think
the
there
top,
is.
I think there's a planning.
Only if there's an existing system on the site.
Okay, then he doesn't need to sign it.
Okay,
Or is that the planning commission doesn't have to sign it, or the SEO doesn't have to sign it?
I think the planning
Yeah,
commission
there's a
signs it.
place for the planning commission. I was looking at the sewage enforcement officer.
My second comment is to add the note to the plan about the farm animals and the keeping of animals on the property. It's a standard note in the zoning ordinance. Do you have the zoning ordinance?
I think I do. So that note's called out in there?
Yes.
Did you have this in your packet or not?
I'm not sure.
It could be like this one, right?
Yeah, actually, right there they are.
What?
They're on the Bergen plan,
Yeah.
those comments.
The third comment was to show the area of material storage that was approved by the zoning variance. And I think it was on lot 1. The next comment is just the plans will need to be signed and notarized. Next one's Perry County Planning Commission review required. The point of beginning should be shown on the plan. And the
Yeah, we,
Planning Commission block looks a little different than what I'm used to reading. So I would prefer the one that be similar to the Perry County Planning Commission's block. That it's just reviewed. And the last one is they add the township numbers, the township number for Amity and Knox Roads. The P numbers.
One question on number 3, material storage. Is there a map or is there, where would we go?
You're going to have to go to zoning hearing board to find it.
Okay.
I don't know of any,
For what now? Sorry.
you probably weren't even around for that. You'll have to get a copy of the zoning hearing board decision.
I'm not putting that in your
And
I said, no, I'm just playing with it.
He's gonna need 2 waivers. The last one, he has the contours shown on the plan. He doesn't need the contours.
Okay.
So it's just the preliminary plan requirements and the plan size. And then I did have a question about, does this dedication of right-of-way include the residual track along Amity and Notch roads?
I would say not, it shows it as such, but we would only be doing the proposed add-on lots and of his existing house at this point, unless you,
I think that's what we've done in the past.
I think so.
I said, just the way it's shown, I said it leaves it on clear. But that's all we usually required was what was in the lots being created.
right, well, I can trim those off there when we resubmit.
That's all my comments.
Well, I guess we can make a motion to sign this planning waiver.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way.
And you could take care of the waivers too, recommend approval, get them out of the way.
I make a motion to sign the planning waiver for non-building declaration. And while making the motion, the 2 waivers, they're requesting preliminary plan requirements and plan size.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Do I need to show those waivers as being granted on the plan?
I think that's a good way to handle it. But that, just show them and then leave it, the date of approval to the, when the supervisors do it. They'll-
So I have a question on your number 6. You said the point of beginning shown on the plan. Is that the primary control point shown on the plan?
Yes.
Instead of a point of beginning, what we call the
Beginning of the survey, yeah.
the primary control point.
Yes.
So number 6 is primary control point.
Yes, so that they know where to start.
That
Do
probably
the
goes
deed.
back to
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a picture so we know what we got. So,
Does anybody else have any comments on the plan?
I didn't see anything.
No.
Well, the next course of action then would be to make the revisions, and you're gonna wait on Perry County planning comments to act on the plan,
Yes.
and then we'll be coming back to this meeting.
Now give me these
Hey.
back.
I'll ask before you, until we see what the Perry County Planning Commission comes up with, maybe you want to make your revisions after they make their comments.
Okay.
And you know what ours is, I don't think there's anything earth-shattering on ours.
No.
Right. Okay.
And if you need those comments for the zoning, we can get them to you sometime.
I was gonna say, or you could either
got the page, I can take a picture of it and email them to you.
They're pretty much right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you enact that zoning ordinance?
2001.
I think I have a copy of that. What section is that?
It's listed there, it's 322, 2, A, B, and C.
Okay.
It's on, mine it's on page 3-7.
We have a zoning office review of this.
What's that, Brian?
Did you do a review of the plan?
I looked at it, I'm okay with that one. It's the next portion.
Any other questions?
Nope. You have those
We have,
pictures?
yeah, he needs that.
Yeah, okay.
Where'd you do with his,
We did them already.
His app, that you gave, yeah, I gave that back 3 pages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's these?
Correct. And I do have the application that you turned in. I don't know, didn't you get a copy of that in your package?
yeah.
Should have.
Is that the only copy that we need?
You didn't sign the other 4 copies you said you had?
You know what I'll have to, I can get them to the guys, or well, to Chris, he's the chairman, so I'll make sure he gets a copy and gets them signed for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't, apparently they were not in the packets that we had with the map, you know, with the survey, so. But I'll make sure they get, now, do you want them, well, you've got the copy that,
I have
We
this
have,
one.
we have that one.
And we can make copies.
Okay,
but I didn't know if
okay.
you're gonna be
because I can
doing that.
email anything to you as well, anything that you need,
Okay.
so,
I think we're good for now.
all set. If you want a phone number too, I mean, because Nancy's in the office on Wednesdays, if there's something that you need prior to, if you want, I can give you my phone number, whatever. If there's something
Okay.
that comes up, 717-834-6744.
And your name?
I'm Dr. Pat Gutheil, Gutheil. And I'm one of the supervisors too, so.
Thank you.
Because I see the emails that come in, like on my cell phone, so I can see if you have questions or whatever, if you want to, you know, anything else
Okay.
needs to be done.
Appreciate it.
Is there any other business other than people interested in the driveways?
I have a question for the planning commission, but primarily for the engineer. This seems to be a better place to ask questions than the Sue's meeting. You made a recommendation on the intersection of Notch for a stop sign.
Yes.
What criteria did you use for putting that stop sign on uphill grade? That's my concern. Now, would you propose putting a stop sign from my place towards the intersection? Stop there to turn right, or turn left?
Are you talking about going in Notch?
Coming from the township shed towards the intersection of Amity,
Okay.
they said they were gonna, that you proposed putting a stop sign there when you turn left on
No.
Amity.
No. I put a stop sign going in Notch. I wouldn't stop, my proposal didn't stop from your house around to Amity.
Okay, it stopped which one?
I was stopping Notch. My proposal didn't stop any traffic on Amity going on to Notch.
Right. Your proposal is to put one on Notch Road
Mm-hmm.
at the intersection of Amity, coming from my place towards Amity.
Yeah, but it would be up at Notch and Notch, I guess, whatever that Y is up there.
Well, that's Notch and Amity. Amity's the one that comes down.
Well, I didn't have any on Amity, stop signs.
Right, but Amity's the one that comes down the hill from Bobby Hickman's place.
Okay,
At the top of the hill down, and then Notch in front of my place. You had me going from my place to that intersection, stopping. Is that, am I not right?
no.
His stop sign is at the west side of the triangle. At the west side.
I'm
of that
stopping
triangle.
the straight piece of Notch. I'm stopping at two places. One's coming out to the intersection and one going up to the Y.
Okay, so you're stopping the dead end direction,
Yes,
coming that way. You're not stopping from the township shed.
no.
Okay, they proposed putting one where I'm talking. You understand what I'm talking about? Coming from the shed, when you hit Amity, they proposed putting one there to stop the traffic that would either go straight through on Amity or turn left
Mhm.
on it, or straight through on Notch or turn left. They proposed putting one there. My concern with that is the school bus has to stop there then, when he tries to go straight through or turn left.
Mhm.
And second, just the other night in that snowstorm, I watched a guy back the whole way in front of my place to get a run to go up there if he has to stop.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess I'm looking for some kind of recommendation from this board and from the engineer to confirm that we're not recommending a stop sign there. 'Cause I
That-
feel-
It would be on up in Notch where the stop sign is.
Yeah, coming from the other direction.
There's one stop in Notch up where the Y is. I don't know what you want to call it, where Notch and Notch is, or
Notch and
the
Amity.
Y.
But if
So
you're
if
going,
you're coming straight through
but if you're
on
going-
Notch from the dead end, stop sign there.
yeah,
That makes sense, yeah.
They're drawn out again.
I just wanted to figure out where the recommendation.
they have a stop sign where you turn from Notch going to Amity. If they, but if,
Yes.
if you're going straight through, there's no stop sign.
Yeah, there is one now.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, they-
I haven't been out there for a
stop
while.
sign straight through that.
Well, I think that resolves it then, right?
That when we were, when this, Linda Hefferfinger, when we originally talked about that, we requested a stop sign to be when you were coming from the
Fred, or
township shed
Frank.
on
I
Notch.
think he helped me.
That's what we needed. That's what we needed.
Well, Notch is the through road. Amity's, it's a kind of a screwed up intersection, is
Yeah.
what it amounts to, but
But I have this as a free movement. I have this stopping here, this stopping coming out.
All right, so which
And this
is,
is a free move, but this has to stop if they're going straight.
which is the through road in this?
I
in
take
this
it that this
situation?
is the through road.
Which is Notch Road?
This is Notch.
Where's the dead end, I guess,
So-
in reference to?
So Notch goes straight through.
Yeah. But this
Notch
goes
goes-
to a dead end.
All right, but Notch goes straight through. Let's take where, the other end of Amity hits Huggins, okay? So it comes in, I'm just gonna sketch it. It comes into Huggins like this.
Yeah.
When you get to Huggins, you stop, because you're at an intersection.
Yeah.
Why is Amity any different where it hits Notch? Why does not Amity have to stop? Because they're going into a through road. Notch Road is a through road. It's the road that's being intersected,
We had
just as
this,
it intersects the other end at Huggins.
when we had the stop sign here, I was told that there's vehicles backing out on
That's what
that.
they say. That's what they say.
So,
We've never seen it. I've lived there 30 years.
But I drive it.
Well, my wife drives it twice a day
Well, I'm saying,
for
but
9 years.
the stop sign.
I've never seen cars backed up there.
Well, okay.
All right,
You don't drive
regardless
it.
of the argument, let's say this island wasn't here, who would stop? Let's say this looked like this, who would stop? If this was Notch Road, and this was Amity, and it was the same intersection as the other end, who would stop?
in that case, I think you would stop aiming.
Why is it different now? What changed? Only that there's an island here. So this road it's safest to stop this road, coming downhill slightly, they stop, but the guys coming this way, or even here, is right on a hump. If I have to stop there, there's a big hump here that I'm in the middle of, stopping me there. That's right before Brian's house. There's a giant hump there, so the school bus ain't gonna get going again. But I don't understand why it's any different. If you stop this guy, then if somebody comes, I think the biggest complaint for this direction is people are flying around here and cutting people off that are on the right side of the road. If they stop, then they can see the people coming. They have to stop anyway to turn this way. If you're coming
I
to
was
the
asked to
intersection-
get rid of this stop sign down here. I was asked to get rid of that stop sign.
Well, you were asked to do something, but what does the study show? It's the question.
Well, the study, you can control an intersection many different ways. And what I proposed was to get this to be, they said this was the biggest movement of traffic.
So you're saying you're proposing putting a stop sign here. This is
Where's the dead
And there's
end?
no stop
Dead
sign,
ends here.
there's no stop sign there now.
Well,
There won't be
one here.
There will be a yield sign
There's
there.
a stop sign there. for
Well,
this
that's,
direction.
That'll be removed.
Right.
I don't know, did they put any
So
other signs?
what you're
up?
doing is allowing an intersection to have the right of way versus the through road, which is a complete conflict.
I don't consider
Of
this,
traffic.
I don't consider that a through road when you go to a cul-de-sac. Especially when this is the main stream of flow.
But this is Notch Road.
Yeah.
This is the old state road. It goes to a dead end now, but people can go straight through.
Yeah.
And people can go straight through this way. This road, regardless of whether, you consider this the main flow because of that T. You understand, because of this island. Do you understand that, what I'm saying? Because there's an island there and the road turns both directions, it feels like the flow is this way. This is a different road than this road. When
If you
turn-
don't go with the names, you would consider this the main.
Only because of the island. Only because of
Well,
the
but
island.
these roads both go somewhere. There's got to be more traffic on this road than what goes back here.
Right, and there is.
But the T intersection is the T intersection. That's my point. If we're gonna stop somebody here, right there on the hump, it's right, I'd ask you to look at that again, because it's right on a hump. That makes very little, it just makes more sense to stop these people than the people that wanna come flying around here, they can see them. Then they have to turn this way anyway, and they should be stopping because they're on an intersection. This isn't flow. This is not flow, you're turning left. That's not flow, but you want them to have the right of way to intersect this road by putting the stop sign on a major slope. That's gonna be dangerous. I'd ask you to look at that again and ignore, well, my view is ignore that this appears to be the main flow. This is a traffic intersection, period. It's a T. If this wasn't here, that would be a T intersection.
And if this came out and went like this, that's what should be. This should come out like this to a
If
T.
the island wasn't there.
Yeah, you should repave it.
Yes,
and
that's
turn
what
it-
should be.
Turn it like that and make
Yes.
this a T. That would be a completely different
But
story.
it's not, so you have to intervene a different way.
Right, which would be stopping the traffic that's coming down here because they make a right turn onto a different road. These people make a right turn onto a different, or left turn.
There's no
onto a
problem with, I drive it every single day, I go down this way.
I drive it every single day myself.
Okay, well, I know, but you don't turn Notch, you have no reason to go down Notch Road to the dead end,
Okay.
right? So what I'm saying is, the problem was here was sight distance, and this has been cut, they flipped that
Then
back.
why would we put a stop sign here?
I don't have a stop sign.
This is where Carl wants it. Because we talked about the driveway that goes up the hill here, this side of the island.
Yeah.
He wants to put it this side over here, which is still on the slope uphill. And you want to put it up here, which is on even more of a slope. This one's gonna cause a lot of problems.
Well,
And the more simple solution is stop the traffic that's supposed to be stopping anyway. It's a T intersection.
well, all I'm saying is, when you go from here, and this is a pain in the butt, right? You're stopping here, and literally, this is a slope as well. You're talking about a slope and a problem with the slope and having to stop. You go up here, you sit there and you spin sometimes, depending. And this is a curve, or not a curve, but a slope as well, right here. Again, I drive.
Which way are you turning?
And when you're coming from here and you're going back to
Which
Denver.
way are you turning?
Left,
Are you
left.
you're turning left, right? When you turn left onto another road, you have to stop, period. If it was a straight through intersection, you would have to stop. So you're turning left, you have to stop. This guy's turning right, he has to stop. It's a T intersection that's laid out different. That's what I'm saying. That's, putting it here is gonna cause a lot of problems. Putting it here is gonna cause a lot of problems. But I'd ask you to, again, look at where you wanna put it and look at that grade coming up. I watched a guy back the whole way in front of my house yesterday during the storm, just to get a run to go up here. Well, if he had to stop there, guess what?
No, I'm not saying you might not be right about that, but what I do know is literally there's been 3, 4, 5 cars sometimes back.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
Never.
You haven't?
I've lived here for
We
30
have-
years. 30 years.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can make a recommendation or if that's the board. Is it good enough that I ask you to look at it again? Because the board hasn't made a recommendation, the supervisors on it yet. But I'm afraid Carl's going to jump in and try to put something even though the board hasn't. So please tell him not to do that yet until the board votes for it. Can we do that?
I'll talk to Carl about it.
I mean, the board did not vote to put a sign up.
Well, we did, actually, we did.
Actually, it's not in the minutes. Did you read the minutes? They were in the minutes last month, and it said we discussed it. That's all we did was discuss it. So please, don't put a sign up until you inform the people that you're gonna do it, okay?
Yep.
Is that reasonable? Thank you. That's all I wanted to talk about.
Any other business? Yeah?
I'm from the deck of my house, just making a permit for that.
Who has that?
Excellent.
Secretary,
Um,
or,
Yeah, it's, what did you say? Now you have a deck that you're
I'm
putting?
putting a deck on my house and Mayor's here.
Okay,
My contractor drew up the plans for it.
okay. So do you want us to see the plans? Or you want to talk about for zoning, for the
Huh?
permit?
yeah, it would be,
For the, that'd be going
Yeah,
to
it goes
Bob
to him.
for,
you can see Bob about that?
he's just wondering if it has to be moved to the planning commission, I think.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I think you're taking care of that.
Yeah.
Aren't you getting
Do we have any
back to
other
this?
business other than the driveway? If not, we'll move to discussing the driveways. I think I've talked to you a little bit. We're here to work on the driveway. We're not here to listen to who said what or who did what. I don't really care. It has no interest to me. But we're here to, if we can help to try to hash this out, we're gonna try to work on the driveway, and that's where we're at, so. I think at least some of the questions that I think we're gonna continue to talk about is whether paving is required to get a permit. And I still feel that it is required, and that's something maybe we're not gonna compromise on. We might have, there's gonna still be something in our ordinance requiring that. Repaving, we can still talk about, but as far as paving, I think the board's we would like to see you have a permit for paving. Yeah?
Pat, didn't the supervisors recommend something for this board concerning that paving issue?
Yeah, there was a Appendix D design standards that we were talking about if they were adhered to.
I'm sorry, the supervisors at their last meeting made a recommendation about this paving stuff for the planning commission.
That was something that Carl suggested if I wanted to mention it to the board. This was the driveway amendments that I had made, but that's,
I think Carl said to let the planning commission review it at the meeting.
well,
They passed.
You know,
was a suggestion, it wasn't a motion, but it's up to the plan. it's up
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
planning commission.
it was just out of courtesy that, as far as,
All right, then I'll inform the board that Pat's made a motion all about this paving the driveway, stoning the driveway, and apparently the board has approved an amendment. Is that correct?
it's a matter of, there was a motion that I made for adding this to the amending the ordinance, the driveway ordinance.
So you made a motion to amend the driveway ordinance with this information.
Correct. And to get the ball rolling, to get the thing started. And then Linus will go ahead and I spoke with Linus already about this before, and it is a matter of him looking at it, making it into legalese, because it's got to be perfected as far as how the legal terminology has to be worded, and then, then advertised.
Before we get into this, Chris and I discussed about not getting into he said, she said,
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Yes.
And we're planning on taking this up at the board meeting, because there's a lot of things that we disagree with that were just said, but we'd like to get back to the driveway ordinance as we were discussing. We do have a transcript of the entire section from last week, if anybody wants to read it, but if we want to get back to the ordinance we were discussing, that would be fine.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Well, my concern is that this is floating out there, and they're going to send it as she wrote it to the solicitor. Now, the planning commission has been offered the opportunity to read it and see if it makes sense as to what direction you want the driveway ordinance to go. They are proposing completely amending it with all this wording. So you should have a copy of it for you to look at.
They've got a copy.
I think it'd be wise to look at it to see if it's what you're thinking. So I'd ask that the planning commission look at that now and transfer your ideas to the supervisors before they send it to the solicitor, which is what Carl suggested also as a supervisor.
Okay, here's what I could do. If the planning commission would like to review what was said last week, I have the transcript of everything that was said at that particular meeting. And at that particular meeting, it was said that it was passed and it was amended last week.
No, the terminology, just so you...
Okay, I'm not going to get into he said, she said.
That's fine.
Out
I
of
was there. I'm the
respect
one who
for
said
Chris
it.
and the planning commission. I'm just saying we have a transcript that disagrees with what you said, and I'd like to get back to the driveway ordinance that we're
That's fine.
talking about.
That's fine.
You do have copies of that?
Yeah, we'll look at that here before we're done.
You have a copy?
Huh?
I have a copy here.
Well,
Oh, not of that, but of the three amendments that were proposed, or whatever they were.
Yeah. Can we look at those? Because I think it sounds to me like it's going to the solicitor as written. And if that's not along the lines of what the planning commission is thinking should be revised for now, then I suggest the planning commission put a recommendation into the board for any revisions that you think should be made to that proposal.
I know Tim didn't have a problem with it. And I did run it by the solicitor, and he felt it was okay. And it's for clarification purposes. The reason that I made these motions was because there's so much misinformation out there, number one, and there's a lot of phone calls that I was getting from different people saying, can I or can't I do this? Because they're getting information from other folks that are saying, well, wait, they're telling me I need a permit for this. I need a permit for re-graveling my own driveway. Is that true? So it's a clarification that I wanted to set things in stone because...
Hand this out. I don't expect us to go over it tonight, out of respect for what you said, but
Well, I already know. Well, that's what I mean.
let's get on it.
We'll look at these changes that they made here before the meeting's over, but I would like to go over some of the driveway changes that they have proposed and see if we can straighten any comments out or any questions we have on them.
Okay, we were talking about the paving issue, I believe. And as we said, there is an appendix B that was drawn up. It's a rough draft for a paving standard, that if it were to be complied with, there would be no need for a permit. And basically, it was my understanding that this is what is looked for when a driveway is paved. So as long as somebody follows the standard, it would be exactly what they would have anyhow if they got a permit to pave the driveway.
Except no one would know if they did comply with the standards, because there'd be no check and balance. There would be no way for someone to check it, because there'd be no permit required for anyone to go in and say, is this done right or not, or to specs. There'd be no impetus for anyone to go out and check it. Jerry wouldn't be on the job to say, you know what, have you done this to specs? So, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all.
I have a hypothetical question here. Okay, I want to blacktop my driveway. I call the equipment shed out there, say, hey, I'm going to blacktop my driveway. Do I need a permit? No. Bang, I hang up the phone. Now I don't know. I don't have this ordinance. I don't know if I have to apply Section B.
Yeah.
That is one of the big questions I have about it.
Okay.
And personally, I really think you ought to have a permit if you're going to not fill potholes or anything like that, but if you're going to blacktop a driveway, I would like to know that it's up to standards before I go and have it done and have the township come out and say, no, you didn't meet Appendix B. You're going to have to tear that son of a gun up and do it again. Now, I don't want that.
Yeah, I see where you're
I
coming
would not want that. Yes.
What could happen is anyone that is going to pave the blacktop driveway could call, be required to call the township and let them know that they are going to. While the job is being done, it could be observed to see whether everything's being done correctly. And I know Pat is through the township a lot, so, there's nobody that's going to do something, especially after you call in and let someone know at the township that you're going to be doing this.
I'm just worried about having to tear up my driveway once I have a blacktop.
Well, if
Because
they're
I didn't-
watching,
Because I didn't follow Appendix B.
well, if they're watching what they're doing, if they're periodically observing what's going on, I wouldn't see what would be the problem of them.
Well, if you're
doing
having somebody
something
come out and
like
check on
this.
it, you're costing taxpayers money to check on something that,
To do what?
you're costing taxpayers money to go out there and check to see that you're doing it right. And that's something we're trying to avoid, and that's what the permit would avoid.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from. I'm trying to think of some sort of compromise solution.
That's what we're here to work out, some kind of compromise.
Most of the people that were talked to did not want a permit to have to pave their driveway.
Yeah.
That's where we're coming from. We're voices for the people of the township.
I understand that, and I appreciate it, but still, it's such an important thing that you're connecting to the road with blacktop that I feel, and I think you guys are proposing a $60 fee for a permit.
We
I mean,
we came up with a $65 fee because that's what some people were charged for a permit in this township.
Okay.
And they were charged $65. It's in the financial records, and even though it was supposed to be $125.
Yeah.
That's what we charged, so we felt, hey, this sets a precedent right here. So that's why we put that in there.
Right.
so that's why I feel, I mean, if the fee's $65 to ensure that you're doing it right,
Okay?
then why not get the permit and then you have it, and then you have documentation that your permit was approved. If you bill it right, then there's no problem, you're good. And
So you would be comfortable with a $65 fee for a blacktop?
I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's what you propose. I'm not sure. I don't know what the cost is, I'm not,
Yeah.
At least the fee helps recover the inspection, which the inspection helps cover the property.
yes,
So, I mean, it sounds like a good idea.
yes.
I think there's a big difference between graveling and blacktopping, because if you make a mistake graveling, you can get somebody, get Glennie or Snyder to come out and fix it for a couple $100, $500. You make a mistake blacktopping.
Yeah, you get thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the part,
We went from graveling here, though, we were on blacktop,
Yeah.
and we went
Right,
back to
well, that's what I'm
graveling.
saying.
So,
Blacktopping's expensive.
the graveling already has no permit.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
And that's what it is.
He's just saying that if
Concerning on the-
he's saying how much cheaper it would be to repair a gravel driveway than a blacktop.
Would, but,
So,
you know, some people like to put them blacktop anyway, so you don't want to just, you don't want to, what do you want to call it? Discriminate against what someone else would
You know, and John Heffinger here, I can see the point, because there's places around over the years where there was nothing done here whenever I went to bed, and I get up in the morning and, holy crap, what happened here last night? You know, someone come in and made major changes, a driveway or something, and, of course, I wasn't one to keep, I kept my mouth shut about a lot of things over the years.
That's their business, that's their
But
property.
we've been communicating with a lot of people in the township, and we're just like innocent, voicing
yeah.
what the people are saying.
So we get,
what do you think? If you blacktop something, you need a permit.
I think you should have a permit, because if not, then you're making a confusion, because all the state roads you have to,
Yeah.
and why not be consistent throughout the whole?
so I think we've decided, I mean, more or less, our recommendation is that you're gonna need a permit for paving a driveway. That's just, I don't think we're gonna compromise much on that. Whether supervisors spend to do something else, that's up to them, but that's our position as a board, so.
And that's a new driveway.
We're talking
Yeah.
about new driveway.
New
Well, no,
driveway.
existing driveway too, if you're paving it,
All
Yeah.
right, then we are existing also.
yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
If you're paving it,
If you're paving it, if it's gravel now and you're gonna pave it,
Yeah.
then you're gonna need a permit.
Because my driveway, is at the point where it's at, within a couple of years, I'm gonna have to have another coating put on it. And there's a lot of other ones like that, but anyway, that's being me. And I didn't mind. I'm on Social Security or whatever, and you know, I
Driveway
pay
was
for
already done.
a permit, but repair it. And
Is
that's
that
maintenance.
considered repaving then? If you're repaving a paved driveway?
repaving, we still haven't voiced our opinion completely on. I'm not sure how we feel about repaving, but
So now you're
paving, paving strictly a new driveway, or not a new driveway, existing driveway, you're paving it, you need a permit.
Okay.
I'm not
You have-
sure.
You have to clarify that, you know,
Yeah,
so
oh,
it's
yeah.
gravel, and you're
Right.
gonna put, it can never have
Blacktop.
blacktop.
How does the township deal with the gravel? The gravel driveways, are they running into the township roads? I mean, are they causing a lot of problems?
Well, I think
Some of 'em.
we're gonna address that later in this, so
Okay.
we'll get to that.
I would think you'd want more paved driveways.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Say, there you go,
Gravel's
Chris.
great.
Make
Well,
the
more
gravel.
paved driveways is more water runoff,
Oh, God.
so.
That's true. Less
It's gotta have
population.
one or the other.
All right.
Oh, let's just put the cinders down.
So we've kind of,
Plant grass.
are we okay there as far as where the board stands and,
Yeah, I'm just still looking to see if there's any kind of other compromise. I mean, there's some way, I mean, I understand what's being said perfectly about, people saying, hey, do you need a permit? Well, no, and that's the end of it, because there's no but follow this.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that communicating the other part of follow this, and you'll be okay. Maybe maybe if it's worded such that you need a permit to require paving unless you follow this standard.
There you go,
That's, I don't know.
Yes, come on.
Because then the answer is yes, you need a permit, and most people wouldn't look into it further, except somebody like me who'd go ahead and say, let me read that.
Yeah.
And then I'd sit down and read that and say, wait a minute. And then I'd pull out the standard and I'd say, hey, do it this way. But most people would hear, well, you need a permit, and that's it. You know, there's other things I know that, you know, most people say you need a permit for, and then you start digging into it and you find out, well, you know, there's these exceptions here. So could we consider that possibility?
Can you start at the beginning? I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Can you start at the beginning? I missed the beginning of that. I'm
Well,
sorry.
basically say, okay, you need a permit to pave your driveway unless you follow this standard. So then it's a case of, yeah, you need a permit unless you dig deeper and find out, well, you know, you can do it as long as you do it exactly like
But
this.
who's gonna check that? That's, the question is,
Well, most people would say, yes, you need a permit. It's like, there's a way to build small buildings, from my understanding, without a permit, as long as they don't have electricity or,
Under
you know,
certain
water or
certain
such. But
square
most people
footage.
say, well, you need a building permit no matter what. Well, I need to pull the information up and double check it, but I understand there is a way to pull it off without a permit. And you can do it, but most people don't know that. It's a similar situation here, is that most people wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know unless you pull it out and actually read it. So anybody who wouldn't read it would say, yeah, you need a permit. It's taking the idea and flipping it
And
upside
I have
down.
a question, what if you have a driveway that's paved partially? Because a lot of West Township is on a hill, but the other part up near the house isn't. Do they have the right to pave up there with or without a permit? That would be a questionable area, because the main part is like on this hill, which West Township is mostly hills. But would they then be allowed to pave on their own property? But again, then you're messing up with percolation of material and runoff, which is a terrible problem, West Township.
it's within a certain amount of footage.
That was,
The main cartway.
I would think, and this is just my thinking, if you're back 20 feet from the cartway
Yeah.
and it's paved, and you want to pave on up, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
It's a certain amount of feet from the cart, what they consider the cartway.
Yeah.
20 feet.
20.
I think that was in here,
And
isn't
you
it?
can patch 20 feet
Yes.
within that cartway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry? 50?
Well, it's 50 if there is,
No,
what is it, if there is
A
a
development.
development, yeah, there's more than one house in that lane.
Yeah, that's for 3 or more homes,
Yeah.
2 or more homes, I think.
At least that's the way I would think. After you're past that 20
20
feet,
feet.
why,
Like that.
you can do whatever you want to do with it. I don't care if you put concrete on it or blacktop it, or don't put cash in it. Too slippy.
For more than one,
More than one.
more than one residence, it's required. If, say you bring a new subdivision in, and there's gonna be 3 lots up there, you're required to blacktop the first 50 feet.
First 50 feet, I see, okay.
Can we move beyond that, even
Sure,
though we
let's-
haven't?
Let's think on that, you know,
Yeah.
because that's, you know, that's fine, we can think on that.
The next one I had a question on, if anybody has anything in between, they can say something, was under the site distance. It
Yeah.
talks about trees and shrubs and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that within the right-of-way.
Yep.
I actually think that's, I don't know, maybe if it was new trees and shrubs, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know how you clarify.
Well, that's a problem.
Existing, I mean, there's almost everybody's driveway's got an existing tree in their site distance or
Oh,
something.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, if,
Well, that, you know, that is in the, you know, if you want, I can pull it out. It's in the second class code, and basically it's a decision by the board whether it needs to be taken care of or not. And the board also has restrictions on whether they have to pay the owner for, you know, the damage or the diameter of the trees and leave the wood for the owner and so on. I mean, it's all laid out in detail. And what we're basically saying is, hey, let's just follow the second-class code with that, because it's already laid out.
Okay, if that's in there, but like I said, my concern is, say that, whatever, now I'm not saying this, but say whoever decides that they're just gonna go around and make everybody cut down all their trees along the roads and stuff, I mean,
Not the way this is written.
I'm afraid that,
No, we were concerned about that too. But that's why, you know, whenever I found it in the code, I was like, well, you know, the answer's already there. It is, let's see, 2325. So why don't we just follow that?
There'll also be restrictions if they wanted to make, you know, do plants around whatever, that there was a restriction on the height that they could be. That way they would never be up high enough that it would block the right of way.
So this here, section 325, Board of Supervisors or its agents shall not remove any shrub or tree growing within the right-of-way of any township road or street except those shrubs and trees the Board of Supervisors finds to constitute a hazardous or dangerous condition to the use of the highway or those which impair the use or maintenance of the public road or street. And then it goes into trunk diameter and so on and so forth. So it's all laid out there, and you know, we put down each requires a separate resolution. So it's not just a motion by the board, they have to put it in writing, put it in the resolution book, and so on and so forth. So it's not something that could easily be done, hey, you know, just clear out this whole road.
that was my concern.
Yeah, we made it difficult.
Is everybody okay with that?
But they're trying to help the people here with their sight distance.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they can still do it. It's just, it's not something that anybody can walk up to the, you know, any supervisor or roadmaster could say, hey, we're clearing this out right now, right, you know, today,
But-
and everybody loses their shrubs and
But
trees.
if, depending on when this permit was issued for the driveway, I take it that it could still be under new driveways as well, or the ones that were under permit? They're required to keep them
Open.
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 They're required by the permit, or should be by the permit, to keep them open, and the township shouldn't be taking them down, the people should be taking them down.
There is something, let's see here. I remember there being something about that. It had to do with new, do I? Yeah, I remember something. Let's see, review design extension, property modifications and use. There was something in here that they had to maintain as per their permit.
I thought I read it too.
Assuming they had something.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know it, but not coming to me.
doesn't matter.
Permit requirements.
It's in the permit requirements? Go ahead and look back. Where I read that.
And in the first page, it talks about, whereas the Township of Watts deems it necessary for the proper management, maintenance, and control of public road systems.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I saw was right below where we were maintenance of existing driveways, it says all driveways are to be maintained as do not provide a hazard to people.
No, that's not, he's talking about something else, has to do with the permit, and I remember there being something there, and it's been a while since I read across it, so I'm trying to find it quickly.
It should, there should be something about people required to maintain it, and that would be including sight distance, even if they don't have the enough sight distance.
Okay, that was in section, on the original ordinance, it was in section 11. And that was probably removed because we changed it originally to be for new driveways only. Because originally it said, or the person shall not maintain the driveway per the requirements of the permit. I think that's what you were talking about. Then the board may order such person form so on, remove the improper work, replace the same in compliance. But that never said anything about trees and shrubs or anything. And that's what I was thinking about. So you're saying then we need a clause in there that basically says that if there is a permit, they have to maintain it as per the permit.
Yeah, and even say that it's an existing driveway that never had a permit, but trees are growing up over time and cutting down on what site distance they did have.
Yeah.
They should be made to be able to maintain what that driveway was put in under at one time.
Oh, how do you prove that?
I don't,
Yeah.
well, you can usually see how big the trees are.
Yeah.
And I said, and if they're shrubs, you think the people would want to have good sight distance if they have their kids going in and out.
Yeah, yeah, you would think. Yeah, because if there was never a permit for it, then there's nothing to,
Yeah,
you know.
that's most of the driveways in the township, probably the ones that didn't have permits.
Probably.
I don't know, just think about it.
All right.
Yeah, if that's something you could come up with something maybe on that, on somehow maintain safe sight distance on existing drives. Maintain what was the existing, that's a tough one to word, I'm not sure how either.
There's something general in here, if you look at existing driveways, the last thing, existing driveways are to be maintained for section 7, and then 7 says, all driveways are to be maintained so as not to provide a hazard to people. I said, that's so general, I said that could be, in some cases, that could probably take care of it, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Just spell it out a little more.
Yeah, maybe, because when we were talking about maintenance of existing driveways, we were mainly talking about runoff, debris, that sort of thing.
But its sight distance is important too, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can discuss that. I don't know that we're gonna find a good resolution to that. There might
Well, I'll
be-
think about it too, I mean, it's
Yeah.
something we can,
And some of the things we're trying to define are almost undefinable.
now you know what we went through the first time we did this, and the second time.
You want me to get the next one?
Huh? Go ahead.
All right, the next one I have is, if the township's cost of maintenance, repair, or cleanup exceeds $500 within 180 days, then the driveway is considered to be out of compliance with this ordinance. I would think that 180 days should be changed to 365 days.
Okay, that's fine with me. You know, I don't, we came up with those numbers.
Yeah,
and
I
put
know,
them in
but,
there as-
well, say we get a freak storm in February.
Yeah,
7 months later, you know, you send somebody out to do $480 worth of work on their driveway. 7 months later, we have another storm, and they go out and do it again. But
Yeah.
So I would like to see that change to 365.
Okay, that's-
myself.
That was a very good recommendation, like
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, those were numbers we just threw in there. Now, we do have that clause, the next one, not that paragraph, but the following one down, that does discuss that, if the driveway is out of compliance in the event of a severe storm,
Yeah.
that results in, $10,000 or more, which is
Well,
the number we just came up with.
Well, that's a different situation
Okay,
altogether.
okay.
I mean, if it does $10,000 worth of damage all over the township, well, then
Yeah,
you can't hardly say that driveway is out, not in compliance,
No.
because other driveways are gonna do it too.
exactly.
No.
Yeah, we just wanted to cover that. And that was another number just kind of pulled out of the air and said, well, 10,000, sounds like the right number.
Is that $10,000 on the property for like the house, or is that
No,
for?
This is the example that I came up with, is we had that major windstorm over the summer. And that did, I don't know how many thousands, tens of thousands of dollars damage to some people's property. I mean, right there would be an example where, if a lot of people have all kinds of debris caused by their driveway in some way, shape, or form, well, that doesn't count, because
Yeah.
it was a severe act of nature, act of God, or whatever we want to call it.
I have a question on what Lee's trying to say, and I want to make sure I'm understanding it right. If I heard the way you explained it right, you're saying $500 spent on a repair, a cleanup,
Yes,
within a year.
yes,
Currently, it's $500 within 180 days.
Yes.
So you're saying that if the township should go out there over a full year, so you're making it longer,
yes.
but is that what you want? Or do you want it less? You see what I'm saying? If they go out 4 times throughout the year and each time spend $200, then they've spent $500 and you're penalized.
Yeah.
If they do it within a month, 30 days or 60 days, then that's the end of the 500. It starts again. You follow where I'm at? So are you trying to get it that you spend $500 within a full year to clean up a mess? Or
Yeah.
are you trying to get it that if you spend $500 within a shorter period of time, then you're done with that period, and the 500 starts again? I'm a little confused as to whether we're thinking on the same lines. Over a year, actually, to me, makes the penalty worse.
I think it makes it, $500 in a year would make it worse.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
I said if 500 in 180 days is,
Right, then it starts over.
it would be less chance.
Let's say they only spent $400 in 180 days, then you're not penalized because another 180-day period starts.
Yeah,
You follow what I'm saying, Lee?
what we're trying to do though is to keep,
What if they have a real hardship and they can't get it done within that time? I mean, there's some people that can't do things themselves and they have to rely on someone else to come and help them. And if they can't do that, then they're getting fined for something that they have no control over. And if it's for 365 days, why would you have to go out and check all those times when you know at the very beginning that they already have all that time?
Well, there's a couple other things here, is that this isn't easy for the township to do,
Right.
okay? Because they have to keep track of it. That's something they're not doing right now. They have to
That's
provide
true.
photographic evidence.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I'm, if Lee wants 365 days, that's fine with me, because the township's not doing any of this right now.
Right.
They're saying it costs us money, but we don't know how much it
No.
costs. So now,
There's no
in order to, move on this, the township needs to say, we've got a major problem with that driveway. So we're gonna start keeping track of how much this actually costs and taking pictures. So we're documenting everything. So it's not something that they can just say, well, we got 2 supervisors that are unhappy with one driveway, so they're gonna go ahead and find somebody.
How do you bill?
Yeah.
what's that?
The road crew or whatever would have to keep track of time and material.
Yes.
You don't do that
Material.
now.
Do they charge hourly for the backhoe and the dump truck?
Time and material, it'd be all that. It'd be whatever it costs.
But the thing is that, just to go on that, once you get labor, they should also have the benefits onto that wage
Well,
added
that
on
would
top.
be,
I said, it's up to them, it's an accounting issue.
Yeah, it's an
You don't have a
account.
breakdown?
Oh, I'm sure they know how much.
Like, I don't want to scare anybody. If you're a resident of the Watts Township,
No, we don't.
you do not get billed from the fire company, before I state this. If you are a township resident, you do not get billed from this fire company. Talking about crashes out here, they're out of state. 1 hour for my rescue, $500. 1 hour for my engines, $500. I mean, we got checks of $14,000 and $18,000 already from this highway. That's why I'm asking, do you have a chart? Do you bill $85 for a backhoe an hour? $25 for
Probably gonna
someone
have to figure
operating?
it out.
I mean, I'm asking.
No,
We're
we
talking
don't.
billing.
We don't now,
We're
but
just
that's
saying
something that,
$500.
Right.
that's something that would have to be
Gotta be broken down.
Yeah, we-
figured
I'm
out.
just curious, because you're
Yeah.
talking money, I'm like, well, that's 1 hour for us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what, it could be, I would say it'd be at the township's cost. You know, they bill their cost, it's not a for-profit thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
we're
it's
right.
whatever the cost is to the township. So it's not a case of, well, you know, we're trying to make money on this, so we're gonna bill $100 an hour. No, it's, okay, you know, we pay our guys X amount an hour, we spend, you know, 2 hours cleaning it up, it costs this much fuel to run the truck, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's along the lines we were
That's
thinking.
different. I was just like.
That's what we were thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, and it does say township's cost of maintenance, repair, or cleanup, so it
See,
is-
that's where we got in trouble with the first driveway ordinance we made up. What we were thinking is not what people read
yes,
into it.
yeah.
We didn't realize when we were doing this, what we thought was the way it was gonna come out on paper.
Lee and Chris and Roger, can you make a recommendation to the supervisors that they start keeping records of what they do? Because there's none now.
You're talking the road crew.
They don't know what they're doing,
No,
how
they
much
don't
it
know how
costs.
much it costs or anything.
You mean as far as like fixing a driveway or,
Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna have to in order to
Yeah.
comply with this.
yeah, once they, if this goes through, once they pass this, they're gonna have to.
Right.
And if they don't, you'll never have to, any driveways that are bad will never get fixed, but
But
Well, Carol.
when you're doing a driveway, I mean, there's normal maintenance on the roads, township roads, right? So, you know, it could be more subjective. I'm just, you know, how do you get the subjectivity out of it?
I think they're saying there's gonna be pictures taken and documentation, so,
Yes.
so
Because there is.
there's gotta be evidence. If there's no evidence, then,
Exactly.
Because there is normal road maintenance, because
Yeah,
being
Yeah.
on a hill, which Watts
Yeah.
Township is mostly hill, the roads are undermined and dragged down, so there is normal maintenance, and there's got to be like, I mean, I guess you have to be careful that your objective is opposed to subjective, also in
well, I'm sure most of the residents of Watts Township know that the driveways that they have problems with. And the township has been going out with their backhoe and scraping the road off after a heavy rainstorm or something like that. And everybody, almost everybody in the township knows where these driveways are and what they're, the ones that are causing problems.
yeah.
So, what we have to do when they go out and do that is we're gonna have to take pictures and document the time and the material, well, not the material, because they just use the backhoe to push it back or scrape it off or whatever. But we're gonna have to know how many hours they're spending on fixing a driveway, or not repairing, it wouldn't even be repairing. It would be fixing the township roads because of the driveway. That's the part we're worried about.
Okay.
Fixing the township roads because a driveway washed out on the road.
Uh-huh.
So, we have to have pictures, we have to have time documented, and use of equipment documented.
Right. And that would be $500 once it started, it's $500 for like 365 days.
That's what I would like to see. Now, I don't know, I'm still confused on what Frank was talking about.
He was trying to say that if you take it 6 months, $500 of damage in 6 months, probably for a poorer person, is a better deal than $500 over, because that gives them a, let's say they have two main storms, like you said, 8 months apart. In that year, the person could theoretically have run up $1,000
Yeah.
at the township.
In a year's period.
I don't know
If
what-
you shorten it to like 180 days, then the first storm hit, 180 days passed, and you only spent $450, no penalty. Another 180-day period starts. Then you can rent up another $500 to it, but there was no penalty for the first one. The $450 that was spent was under the 500, and you didn't get charged for it.
But then if you make it 180 days, and they have two storms in the same year,
Then you get hit with two penalties.
they could get $480 on the first storm, 7 or 8 months later, $480 in the second storm, and there's no consequence to it.
Yeah, I think what it is
Well,
it's,
it would be if you made it for the year, because
Yeah,
the two storms together add up to over 500, so there's the penalty.
yes.
yeah, that's what he's saying. If we make it 365 days and there's more than, and it's cumulative. It's not one storm. It's more than,
Right, it's the period.
yes, it's within that year period. If you go over $500,
Oh, so you're trying to collect it, if you spend it, we want to collect it.
right.
Okay, well then you're.
We've extended to help the township, I feel. They're
Yeah, that's what
Help the township more.
That's
Yes.
what I
So a
think.
shorter period would help the,
The
residents.
homeowner, or the,
Yes.
yeah.
okay, you're on the right page, I'm sorry I confused the matter.
Well, you had me confused.
Yeah.
The only question I have is, when does that time period start? January 1st, or does it start the day they had to clean it up?
It would be the first incident.
Well, yeah, it would be from,
Yeah, it'd be,
just pick a time.
if we
period.
didn't have a storm until April 1st, that's when it would start, April 1st.
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Till April 1st or March 31st the following year.
Yeah, because it's got to
It's
be done in that time, 'cause you
Yeah.
can't.
Documentation,
And
so I'm gonna
if
tell
it
you.
hasn't been filed, then that's when it starts.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever the first report is filed, that's when the year starts.
Yeah.
When that year's up, then it's a dead issue, at the end of that year.
The first time the township has to send equipment and men out to take care of it, that's when it starts.
As long as they document it.
Yeah, as long as,
What are the demographics of Watts Township in elderly and low income? Does anybody
I don't know where to look.
hey,
That was pretty
that was an inappropriate time for that laughter to come up.
know? I didn't know if you knew.
There is census information for 2010 out there. I don't know whether it goes into elderly or
Oh,
such.
okay.
That's where I got the numbers for how many people or how many are in,
Oh, okay.
rent apartments.
I just wonder what kind of budget we do on if our township is 50% elderly and low income, because I know New Buffalo is, I think, mostly low income. Might be elderly too, I don't know which. I just read that census.
Thank you for saying that, 'cause we do
But
have
I just wondered,
We can
you know, you
look
should
out
keep in
for
mind, I don't know, but
the older people. That's what I said, if you have someone that doesn't have help, can't do it themselves, and they have to wait for a family member or friend's brother to come in, they're under, what do? They wait until someone comes to help them.
but the township has sent a letter to these nuisance driveways,
Yeah, they would have
stinky
to.
driveways.
Yeah.
Yes, every time they went out and repaired it, they would have to send them a notice that they went out and,
There is the paragraph below, the number of days that we're discussing. In the event that a driveway has been determined to be out of compliance with the ordinance, the township shall send the property owner a letter, oh, wait a minute, that's if they've already been.
Okay.
This letter will explain the road and explanation, penalty, copy. Okay, yeah, never mind, that was.
Couldn't you have an umbrella policy that if you have an indigent family in the township either finds them for whatever reason, or they do things that cause that indigency, if they can prove it, allows the township to simply put a lien on that property and leave.
Yeah, you may have,
Fix it for them.
Bob, you may have a little trouble with that. I know, I would, if I was in bad shape, I wouldn't want to tell other people. I wouldn't want anybody else to know about it.
Okay.
Right.
You know, and that's just the way I feel. But,
No, I understand that.
yeah,
I was trying to find a way out of
I know.
forcing poor people to pay for something
But they're gonna pay for it again, anyway.
without spreading the cost to everybody, all the taxpayers. That's-
Well, I would say if we know somebody that is in that bad a shape and they're having trouble with their driveway, we could get enough volunteers
Volunteers, yes.
to help.
I would almost guarantee that, yeah.
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 I mean,
I think in this also that, I think there should be a way that they should be able to request to meet with the supervisors in an executive session or something and talk to them, not bring it out in public if
Yeah.
they wanted to talk to them.
Executive session, I don't believe before that.
You have to be like.
There's very strict rules about
Well,
executive
that-
session.
It could be ended up under litigation if they were taking people on a driveway ordinance. It would be stretching it, but
Yeah.
but it would be litigation.
There are, Linda, there are elderly people that they don't want anything.
But I wouldn't want that
anything.
people to bring it out in a
And that's
public
their
meeting.
privilege.
yeah.
Well, if it wasn't done, maybe his phone call was-
So, do you have anything else?
I didn't think I had any other comments today, but
Well, so, well, I'm sorry.
go ahead, no, go ahead. I don't mind.
What?
He had something to say. He's gonna say.
Okay.
I mean, if nobody else has any
I
comments.
have a comment,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
and I'd like to ask Brian, which one is it? Under modifications,
Yeah.
the last paragraph where you're talking about that the modification request shall be approved by the board and an engineer not employed by the township. Is the applicant bringing an engineer that will seal the drawing? Or what's your thought there?
The thought that is that, let's see here, let me think back about that whole discussion. Let's see, all such modifications or requests shall be approved by the board and an engineer not.
I actually forgot that too. I looked at that too and thought the same thing.
I believe the issue about the engineer was that there's just a concern of the engineer works for the board. So in order to make sure that there's no conflict of interest or anything.
But why don't we just take the engineer out of it, period, and just say that the people indemnified and hold harmless the township if they approve the modification?
By the board and township instead of the engineer not.
Yeah, because I said they're not going to employ another engineer, so that would be the applicant has to hire an engineer.
Okay.
But it might be that they indemnify and hold the board harmless.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, anybody?
No, no, it's engineer talking. I
That's
I don't know.
That's a little over my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, I just looked at it that they're telling somebody to bring an engineer here. And I guess that would be the applicant that would have to pay for the engineer.
And you guys
And then
don't
is
want
he going to
that.
seal it?
That would make sense of the
And
applicant.
but I said, on the other hand, they could either do that or get, then the engineer's taking the responsibility for the modification. But maybe the other end would be getting them to indemnify and hold harmless the township for issuing that permit.
We have to have nothing involved with it. That's why you
Yeah, that's
probably
why
put
we're
in
talking-
there.
yes, that's why we're
we
talking
put
about
in
that.
there that
Yeah.
it would have to be someone
Yeah, that's why we did that. Yeah.
that was just the correct reason. We can discuss that with the group.
Yeah, we can, yeah,
Yeah,
discuss
discuss
that,
it.
yeah, that's, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the township's not gonna pay for
No.
another engineer to review something or whatever there, so.
I have a comment on section 8 too. Something that, it says every person prior to obtaining a permit file an application with the board on a form furnished by the board showing the boundary lines of all adjacent properties. It might be a good idea that that person going for the permit, because the driveway literally goes onto a township road, probably he should notify the property owners within like 200 feet or so many feet of his driveway, so that they would be aware, because the neighbors would know the conditions of that road, because the neighbors use it all the time. And it would be a good place to put comment, you know, hopefully decent comment, as opposed to subjective comment.
Are you telling the people they have to notify the adjacent owners by certified mail return receipt? That's the only way to guarantee that they were
That would
notified?
probably be the best way, but it would be at least a way that people on that road who know the road and use the road, they would be aware of what's going on, because I know that there's quite a few places that do that, where you have to notify the owners within, I think where I live is 200 feet, but of the boundary. Not 200 feet of the
For,
building.
for what?
Within 200 feet of the property lines for changes. And a driveway is a major change because it affects the driveway, it affects the township roads and all the.
I know that, the only thing I know that the township's obligated to notify is when they're doing a zoning change or,
Yeah.
and
Not a
they have to,
township. No, for the person going for the permit, there should be something that they have to notify property owners within 200 feet of his property. I don't know if you have any kind of a, no.
I don't think we have anything, and I don't know if you really, that's gonna incur more costs to the landowner again there if you have to certify letter and everything.
It would, but I mean, for the cost of a letter going to your adjacent property owner saying, hey, you know, I'm putting in a driveway, I mean.
It'd be courtesy
Yeah,
on
it
his
would be
part to
courtesy.
say, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna be
Yeah, I
with
would-
your neighbor.
I
Yeah.
think it's courtesy to the neighbors, yeah, but,
But at the same token, are they gonna say, well, I don't want your driveway there, then what are you gonna do?
well, they wouldn't be
Well,
able to, well, I think
it just-
where you're going maybe is with the whole situation on Circle Road.
Well, that's one, but it also
Okay.
lets people on the road comment, like they may know that the speed's too high,
Yeah.
or it gets very icy in the winter. It was just a, it was a courtesy really, so that people could comment without, not saying, no, they can't prevent a driveway if it's legally allowed.
Yeah, they wouldn't go prevent.
It's more courtesy, because I know with the driveway on Circle, I know that Mark wasn't told. And it's, I mean, it's just,
Maybe that's.
you know, it may have prevented some problems.
I hate to say it, but how about if the township would be responsible for sending out the adjacent landowners
No.
every time somebody comes for a permit,
For a driveway.
for a driveway permit?
Yeah.
But it would be up to the person, but then of course you'd have to make sure that, then you'd have to, well, whoever, who's the,
Well, it'd usually only be a couple letters, I mean, you know,
Right.
be adjacent, across the street, you know.
Right.
I mean,
right.
3
Just
letters.
write
maybe.
the people that are right immediately around that.
I know it would be another cost to the township.
How would it be another cost though if the person doing the,
She's saying have the landowner
the
do it.
landowner?
Landowner does,
Landowner
yes.
would have to send, that would be a
I know.
requirement.
Yes.
But I agree, you'd have to check.
But who's gonna
Who's
make
gonna
sure the
oversee it?
landowner does it? That's,
Who's gonna oversee it?
if I come in for a permit,
Yeah,
and my son on this side of me, and my daughter on the other side of me, would have to get a registered letter from the township saying that I'm doing something with my driveway.
oh no, the registered letter doesn't come from the township.
Well,
It's
You would
just-
have to send it to them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's your problem.
then I'm gonna say, well, you know, that's my son, that's my daughter, they don't have to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's cute.
Yeah.
All right.
We could suggest as a courtesy to your neighbor, maybe you would like to talk to them.
Because when people
I'd
work
say if you're good neighbors, you'd tell them anyways, but
Yeah.
Because when people
You
work
should.
together, you get more done, as opposed to when people work together and like, maybe someone living on, well, like, even Old Trail Road. I mean, they go way too fast. So, you know, if a new driveway comes in, let's say, well, he didn't put a new driveway in from the Burger King, because that was an existing, but there's more traffic now. One of these days, one of the 80-mile-an-hour people are going to hit someone that's on that hill that they're trying to pull out. And their little decal's gonna be too far out in the road and somebody's gonna go flying. But it's just like that driveway, you know, if they would have notified them, maybe they would have changed the grade. I mean, I don't know.
They did it as much as they could.
Yeah.
yeah, that was the best possible
Yeah,
place that we could.
That's just an example.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, like they say, in the modifications, you can't do anything about it. That's the way it is, but I just thought as a courtesy, but that adds more weight to the driveway ordinance, but it was just a comment.
Wasn't a bad one, by the way, just.
Well,
No.
maybe what you could do is when they come in to get anything, just put a little notation or whatever you're giving them, that if you would like to contact your neighbors to say hello and let them know you're moving in, that's at your discretion. Not in here, but it would be on the paper, they would just hand out.
Some people probably don't want to be neighborly either. They want to be all to themselves and they don't really.
Their discretion, that's
Yeah.
what it
But it would be up to
says.
them, they would have to bring the letters into the officer who does the driveway permit.
I review them, but I think he issued.
Yeah.
He does the driveway, so they would have to, it would be up to them to include it with their packet. Although if it's like you don't want your children to. You can ask for leniency.
Well, maybe if anybody wants to know, you just call the township office and say, hey, who's moving in beside me?
Right. Yeah.
Do we have any other comments on? Did you have any others, Sherry?
I don't know, I want to read over the final version. I think this is similar to the one we had last week.
Yeah.
With a couple of things added, and
Yeah.
it finally got rid of all the different text, different colors.
Yeah. Didn't like the color combination.
Well, I got it just as confusing as just having a new one,
Bob had a comment.
to me anyway.
Okay.
What?
Go ahead.
I have a question on 14, section 14. It says that students have to respond within 8 days. Is that just a response, like we're looking into it, or is that an answer to the appeal? Because I can see a problem where somebody comes in with an appeal, and then the suits need legal advice. They get legal advice, but they're not allowed to meet again and make a decision before that 8 days are up. Because that would be meeting without a publicized meeting. So forcing them to make a decision within 8 days creates a problem for the suits.
That could just call an emergency meeting.
Well, I don't know if you, what constitutes an emergency? Would that be an emergency if you want to make a decision?
If somebody's aggravated, I would say
It's
so.
been in the past.
No, I'm serious.
But I see the point. You have an 8-day period, you're gonna have to either advertise a meeting or call an emergency meeting. So that needs,
Well, that's after.
I think that's a valid question to
That's
have.
after the meeting.
Consider.
Right, well,
Yeah.
the appeal comes to this meeting, and
Yeah.
then the suits say, well, we can't make a decision until we get legal advice. Then they get legal advice, now what do? You want them to be able to respond in 8 days, they can't respond
Says
until the next
board
month.
meeting.
Unless
Yeah,
they have a meeting. So I'm just just saying there's a problem with that number 14 from my perspective.
So it's gotta be extended, it does, because like you said, they can't, even if after, they may ask the question of solicitor at the meeting, and he can respond within those 8 days, but they can't make a decision on his response till they have a meeting,
Till the next township meeting.
to the next township meeting to make a decision. They can't,
Hear about that
Well,
stuff
could-
anyway at the township meeting, so
Um,
it could be in the emergency meeting.
but then you, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna incur a bunch of costs on people there again.
Well, the thought here was, is that if somebody had a, issue, that they wouldn't be waiting forever for an answer.
Yeah.
That was the main
Yeah, but it
purpose.
says,
And the way I could see this possibly being handled would be the board saying, okay, you know, there's these possibilities of what's gonna happen. If the solicitor says yes or whatever, then this is the answer that we give them. If they say this, then that's the answer. You know, it's a thought.
If, could it be if there's a decision rendered at the supervisor's meeting, then they must be informed within 8 days of the decision? If,
Well,
I'm not how,
yeah, but
we have to be
it
real
says,
careful about this wording, because I've seen things like, say, the Rising Sun Drive letter, for example, go on for over 6 months. So, you know, we don't want somebody sitting there waiting forever for an answer from the board.
But
That's why
Can the people, if they're that anxious, then they should have it to the board before 60, have more than 6, shouldn't have 60 days. Most things are, they have to appeal the decision within, I would say, either 15 or 30 days. If they're in that much of a hurry, then they should get it. I think, I'm looking at the zoning ordinance, and most things there, I think, are 30 days.
yeah, but if you read down there a little, shall provide a letter by certified or registered mail no later than 8 days after the second board meeting.
well, that's if they were, didn't get it in within 15 days of the prior one.
Yes.
So if you could see what we're saying, if the
Yeah.
board makes a decision, then I could see the 8 days. But if there's not a decision rendered at that meeting, then they would need another 30 days or whatever.
If the board makes a decision, the secretary's not in till 7 days after the meeting.
Right, so
Yeah.
Wednesday is.
So she's going to get it in the mail that Wednesday.
So maybe that should be extended to 10 days, just for mailing purposes.
Well, it has to be postmarked no later than 8
Okay.
days. Or something.
Or post, yeah, if it's postmarked, yeah.
No, later than 10 days, I would.
Okay, so maybe a situation where the board might need an
He's saying if
extension
it's
for another
postmarked, if the
30
meeting's
days or
7 days
whatever.
later, you could have it
In
postmarked the
which
next
case,
day.
how about
that'd
they
be
have to give them a
compliance.
reply, but maybe say, hey, we need to have it extend this by another 30 days,
I think that,
or 35 or whatever, because sometimes it's a long,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that would work.
Okay,
That's why I said, was it the reply, just we're working on it, we need time, or do they have to? This sort of indicates they have to give, made a decision in
Yeah.
that 8 days, and that puts them in a bind if they need legal advice.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. We'll see you after the meeting.
or we're still not done, I guess, but.
I have another
We're
question about 16, and I guess we sort of broached this in the past, but it's about the people can either pay for the restoration or pay a fine. And I'm going to bring up again, what if you bump into a guy who really is stubborn and obstinate and doesn't care, and he says, I'm not going to do it. You put up your barrier and he tears it down. What do you do?
If he tears down the barrier, then the second-class code has some issues about that. So that's all taken care of. So if you go ahead and say, okay, you know, this guy is being a problem, we just fined him $1,000, so we're going to go ahead and close off his driveway, put up a barrier, well, that's destruction of property, and that's in here somewhere, I read it. So that's all taken care of.
Well, $1,000 though, I've had experiences in my life contracted for, they didn't pay, you take them to the district justice, they lose, and guess what? If they're near indigent, when a sheriff walks in there, they're not allowed to touch anything they need to live. So they have nothing, so the fine means nothing, or the amount of owed money means nothing. And what the district justice will tell you is, this will be put, a lien will be put on in the courthouse, and you personally, or the township, would have to renew it every so many years, and the township will never recoup that money. I just think that has to be thought out a little bit better in terms of if people don't want to pay and they don't have the money to pay, the township could end up just eating it over and over again.
Well, I think once it gets to this point, that driveway would be shut down. It wouldn't be an issue anymore. It'd be a one-time deal, and there wouldn't be a
One and done.
multiple times.
And he wouldn't be able to win to get anything in his house.
Are you saying that they would like block it with dirt or something, or how?
If it's deemed unsafe, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
close it off, put a barrier in front of it, and, then it's somewhere in here, I remember reading that then it's destruction of property, so,
Right.
They can't take the barrier away until the problem's resolved. Guess they would need another driveway permit and reopen it up and go from there.
We are on their side, so.
Well, under the documentation, where did you come up with the 50 years?
Well, it was a number just floated out.
I know there's a law that says what records township has to keep and how long. I
There
don't
are
know
record
where this
retention laws,
sits.
yes.
I don't know where this falls in
Yeah.
there. I said, I know some things they do keep forever, like subdivisions and that type of thing, but I know like financial records, I think they get after 7 years, they get rid of them. That's what that- At least it seemed like that's what they were destroying at the last place I worked. And I said, but I didn't know what the law says they have to keep.
I don't know that there is anything.
Well,
that
I'm
says
sure
that
that's in there someplace. It tells you how long they have to.
Oh, yeah, there is document retention laws for that, and in many cases, an organization will set up a document retention policy too. And that policy will say, hey, after a certain period of time, we always get rid of these documents right here. That way, in case there's any litigation, then it's a case of, yes, we're following our policy. It's not a case of where, oh boy, we just got caught and we just started shredding stuff. But yeah, the 50 years was just a number we came up with.
I just was wondering where it came from.
Yeah, just to make sure that the information's on file for a period of time.
Are we going the driveway for now?
Yeah, I want to read over it again.
Yeah.
I think it was just a rough read over.
Mean that we might make a decision next month. Woo-hoo!
Oh, your daughter's calling you about that driveway.
With all due respect, we spent an hour on that. This is
Yeah.
gonna go to the solicitor.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no.
know, I know.
After we have our next.
Planning commission meeting.
Questions as to whether,
What's that?
you guys agree with it and would recommend, hold
Yeah,
off
it
and
shouldn't be
send it
too
in
long now.
whatever, because I have some
All right,
concern.
all right.
I don't know, first you could read it. I have a transcript of the recording's pretty garbled, but maybe, I think you have Pat's original? Is that? she
I have
there? No, up there.
Oh, I only have a picture of Pat's
I'm
original.
asking, Chris, did you
Do you-
give Chris the original that you?
Is this the
Yeah,
original?
that's the original one. That's what I read off of when I made my motion.
Well, do you want to read your motion that you made?
All right.
Can you read whatever her motion was?
She's going to read it, yeah.
Yeah, and this was for clarity, so there was no confusion made for the people who have been calling me up and asking me questions in terms of,
Well,
yes, I'm sorry.
before you say anything,
Sure.
it was something along the lines that you said at the last meeting, Brian, about sending something to the supervisors to clarify this. Well, I didn't talk to her, but that's what she did, sort of clarify what, what problem she was having. But the stuff that we had already worked on the driveway ordinance, and you said you wanted to try and put something to the township, and then I remember I got a little upset the last meeting. I said, well, I wouldn't do that because they'd have to have advertised, and we were planning on, I was planning on being done in another 3 or 4 months with the complete ordinance. So that's why I said that at the last meeting, that I wouldn't send that to them now because I was hoping we'd be done in 3 or 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
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 So, and then,
It was my understanding from the last meeting, at least my feeling on it, is that nothing was going anywhere and that we were working on what we just discussed. And that there was no other thing, because I remember suggesting, maybe making it a 2-step process.
But
And I was told, no, let's go ahead and
I
just
feel like
get it
we
all done.
made quite a bit of advancements on this driveway ordinance tonight.
Yeah,
I feel that way anyway.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I'm sorry, now you can go ahead and,
Okay, well, like I said, this was because of the calls that I had been getting from people who, like I said, there's misinformation, or however you want to put it. People were confused with things that had been said, and things even as simple as the motion I had made, months ago, and this was in reference to no permit is required for re-graveling your driveway. Your comment was at the time, it doesn't really matter what motions you make, if they're still part of the ordinance, or not part of the ordinance, or they're in the old ordinance, and nothing's been amended, essentially, then what, big whoop, you didn't say it like that, but essentially what you were saying is, these things, unless they're passed in an ordinance, or amended to the ordinance, and then passed, then it's not a matter of, it's not a done deal. So the people are still going under the guidelines and the auspices of the original ordinance. This doesn't hurt anything you folks are doing. I know you seem to think that it was.
well, Pat.
Well, wait.
We don't care about that. Let's just read these and see what's going on here.
So anyway, amendments, no township permit is required for gravel driveway maintenance or re-graveling of now existing gravel driveways or all future ordinance compliance gravel driveways. That clarifies, this amendment clarifies.
All right, can you just read it, Pat, so we
Yeah.
can follow along, okay? We need to know what the motion says. Don't interrupt yourself, please just read it so we can follow along.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so
Go ahead.
I just read it, okay? Accepting no contour changes to a gravel driveway or changes to the place of intersection of an existing gravel driveway with a township cartway are permitted without a new township driveway permit. So you don't want me to say what it means?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just
That means you can't change the contour or the location where it intersects with the cartway. Amendment number 2, no permit is required for minor driveway blacktop maintenance such as potholes and patch repair. I can't see how anybody would object. So blacktopping, or as long as you're not changing the contour, you can go ahead and do what you guys want to do. I mean, this seems straightforward to me. Amendment 3, re-blacktopping of a previously blacktop driveway within 20 feet of the intersection of a blacktop driveway and a township cartway, and all new blacktopping of a previously non-blacktop driveway requires a new township driveway permit. 3, a permit request for blacktopping of a previously blacktop driveway or a previously non-blacktop driveway may not be denied for reasons of placement of a grandfather driveway intersection with a township cartway. So that way you're not losing, if you've got a driveway already, and for some reason you want to do something to it. Nobody, excuse me, do you want me to read it?
Read the rest of your letter,
It's-
that's what I'm asking.
Pardon me?
Did you finish your letter? That's
It's
what I'm
done.
asking.
That's it.
Okay, you didn't tell us that, so we didn't know for sure.
Okay, it is finished. So, and again, I see no problems with any of this. I had also sent a copy of this to Linus, our solicitor. He's read it. He sees no problems with it. It would be a matter of, this is all the things that you folks have been wanting. It's not doing anything that's going to hurt you folks. It's going to help clarify because it'll then be set in motion, and that's what that was about, was making this thing set in motion so it can be adopted into an ordinance. I'm not saying, whatever you folks end up working out, whatever the PC and we work out with you guys, that's fine, that's icing on the cake. That, you know, you can amend or change whatever in the future. But this at least is a stopgap measure, that's what I feel. Stopgap measure, so it is kind of like the card says, make it so.
Okay.
That's
Do-
my feeling on it.
Do we have any comments on it?
And a motion was made, and Carl seconded the motion, and it, like I said, it was looked at by our attorney. He would then,
And this, hold on, at, last week, Pat said, and I quote, "This is going to go into effect at this point in time."
well, in other
So
words, it's
the way
starting the
it's
motion.
talking,
It's
They
making,
passed the amendment last week.
no, it is a matter of the way, okay, the way it goes, it has to be,
That's irrelevant.
yeah,
You need to-
right.
you need to comment
So-
on those.
So what I said was,
Yeah.
you know, I'll certainly, obviously I respect your folks' opinion on this. Again, this is a stop.
You didn't, or you wouldn't have gone over them.
Well, that doesn't matter. We just find out how these amendments, I understand they can't be enforced right now because it hasn't been advertised and all that
Well,
stuff.
the legalese too.
But-
They're involved now in rules.
Well,
not
that's besides the point. What comments do we have on these right here?
Well,
Or
comment-
questions?
Well, I'll tell you what, I would rather just do like Lee said, and let's just finish what we're working on and get that in place. That's what I would like to do.
My comment is, the problem we're having with the current ordinance, current driveway, what is it now, not what you're working on, what's in back now, is this confusing. Agreed?
Correct. That's why we're trying to do what we're doing here.
This is just as confusing to me. When you read it, I would like to see it more simplified, more easily understandable, if you will.
Well, when Linus does it, number one, he's gonna have to put it in
Please let me
legalese.
finish what I have. I'm just to say about that. Like, when you read amendment number one, it says, no township permit is required, the first sentence, okay? And then that ends, and it says, accepting no contour changes to a gravel driveway or changes to the place of intersection of existing gravel driveway with township cartway are permitted without a driveway permit. Now, how about, to make it more understandable, at least for me, you say, no permit is required as the gravel or all future ordinance compliant gravel driveways when there is no proposed contour changes, so on. Instead of saying accepting, well, what the devil's that? In my mind, what does that mean, is what that says to me. Accepting, how about just finish the first sentence off with when there will be no contour changes? Instead of accepting and so on, it just makes it more confusing. Because that was the complaint when the ordinance that's in effect now was picked up. Somebody interpreted it the way they read it. Well, when you read what's written for that part, can it be made more simple? Can it be made more clear?
Well, I'm sure when Linus tweaks it or looks at it and writes it in legalese, it's going to be made to read and flow probably with whatever designated wording he wants to use
So
to
this
make
is
it legal.
going to Linus now?
Yes.
It is. You presented that it already went.
Oh, it did. It did. I ran it by him before I had we had our township meeting.
You presented it that you passed it last week.
You know, Brian,
Okay, I just need to know, it went to Linus and Linus already reviewed it?
Yes, she said.
when I read these, I said, this has been run by our solicitor.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know, is there anything wrong with the proposal that I'm going to be making, the amendments that I'm going to be reading? I don't know what the problem is, and it doesn't really, and not that it doesn't matter, this is a stopgap. Go ahead, Bob.
Mine looked at it, and said there's no problem with the,
Well, let me ask
The
you this.
thrust
Hold
of it.
on.
But he's-
Bob's going to speak up and tell us what Linus said. How does Bob know what?
Because I told him.
Because you told him.
Because
That's right.
Pat and I have talked about this, I'm trying to clarify it for you, because you seem confused.
I am confused.
Okay,
And
Linus,
this is
do
confusing.
you want to
I'm
know the
asking-
answer?
Wait a minute, how about he gets the floor once in a
I don't want
while?
an answer from somebody who got a second hand. Do you understand
All
that?
right, then you-
I
then
don't
you
want a
won't-
second hand
Fine.
answer.
Okay.
That makes
Let's
sense.
I make a motion that planning commission adjourn,
I'll second.
9 o'clock.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you got a copy of this? Yeah, you got one. So dude, you got one, yeah. Thank you, Rick. Dang, I didn't get to bring up my comment either.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep, see you then.
I do feel like we made some progress.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
This is
And I'm pleased with
working at
that. Yep. I'll see you then. Thanks.
Watch your backs.